I get, the better I understand myself. And that in itself is a wonderful thing. But something that I find even more satisfying is that as I learn about myself, the better I understand how I used to think and how the world and its messages impacted my concept of self while I was growing up. Now, here's a short story that I promise you will be relevant, but my phone case recently died a death. It was ripped, the magnets had fallen out, and I begrudgingly had to replace it. Now, I own an Honor 10 Lite, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of the Honor 10 Lite, because nobody has heard of the Honor 10 Lite, and nobody makes cases for it. I wanted one of those nice, sustainable parlor ones, but they don't make them for my crappy phone. Long story short, Amazon is my only bet. So I'm scrolling through Amazon, looking at all of these different phone cases, and I find myself scrolling for at least half an hour, looking at all of these different colors, patterns, pictures of little pandas, and I'm thinking as I'm scrolling, which one is my phone case? Which phone case really embodies who I am as a person? Which is my spirit phone case? Which phone case represents me and my lifestyle and what I'm all about? Which one is the most me? And I'm scrolling until I get bored and I realize, what am I doing? Why? It doesn't matter which phone case I buy. I just need to buy one and make this bit of my life where I'm looking for a phone case over. The job of the phone case is merely to protect the phone, but there I am trying to find something that embodies my personality in this purchase. But it completely highlighted a thought pattern that I've had since I was a child and that I still have echoes of, and I'm just more aware of it now, but it definitely still is there. The marketing campaign that I would say has been the most successful on me, and probably on people as a whole, is this idea that people who are like this buy this type of thing. This kind of person does this. These kind of people buy this. Successful people buy our shoes. Organized people buy these notebooks. People who are admired by everybody wear this mascara. And it got me thinking, how much of what I bought over the years did I buy simply because I thought it represented a part of me? And also, why was I happy to condense and simplify the intricacies and complexities that make me me down to some purchase? Because truthfully, and I do not mean to boast, but I am way more than can be summed up by any phone case in the world. I am more complex. You could argue that perhaps we are represented by our choices and our purchases are our choices. But it's interesting that when I'm trying to work out what physical objects would say about their owner, I look at it from the perspective of an external onlooker, like an observer, rather than my own view. I'm wondering what other people would think of these purchases, not what I think of these purchases. And this isn't always the case, especially since I found minimalism, but there are definitely echoes of it still around me right now. It's something I have to be aware of because it's such an ingrained pattern. In fact, there is an experiment that I saw on TikTok that I will briefly tell you about. It was very illuminating. So, right now, draw a letter Q, a capital Q, on your forehead with your finger. That is not with a pen. Now, which way did you draw it? Which way did you do the flick? Did you draw it as though somebody looking at you would read that as a Q? Or did you draw it so that you can see it as a Q? Like if you moved it from your face, you'd be able to read it as a letter Q. I don't know how scientific that is, but the idea is that if you drew the Q from somebody else's perspective, then you spend most of your time thinking about what someone else might be thinking of you. And if you draw it so you can see it, you're thinking like from your own perspective out. I guess you could kind of argue it's how self-conscious you are, perhaps. If we view ourselves and our choices and our decisions from the perspective of an external observer, then we deny ourselves the opportunity to actually live in the moment. It's like we've been given a car to drive and we've been told we can go anywhere we want, but we spend the whole journey just obsessing over what the car looks like, that we forget to actually pay attention to where we're going. We just need to drive the car and stop worrying so much. And I truly believe that life is playful. I think life should be playful, but I forget that so easily. But there's moments where I really feel it, and in those moments where I feel it, it is the most true thing And I do believe it, but there's just so much to get bogged down in. And I think this is so closely tied to a concept that I learned about when I was reading The Courage to Be Disliked, which is such a good book. I highly recommend it. So in typically Western cultures, we tend to be quite individualistic compared to more collectivist thinkers. So our focus is naturally on what separates us and what divides us. We want to be fractured off in ways because we need to have something that separates us from the rest. I'm talking very, very generally here, I have to say. But the bit in The Courage to Be Disliked that really hit me was when it talked about how often anxiety arises from the fact that we forget that we, me, you, everyone, all of the humans, we are all on one team. When we start focusing on all of the things that make us different, we can pay attention to the things that actually make us one. We are all experiencing this world and this bizarre thing that is consciousness and all of the inconsistencies of life and truth, and it's all so strange and wonderful and beautiful, and we are all in this together. There's so much more keeping us together than there is pulling us apart. And yet it is so easy to view the other as completely separate, but not just separate, but as a judgmental force. And we spend so much time looking at ourselves from the perspective of this judgmental other, which is no other at all. It's us, it's part of us. We are the same team. And it's so easy to view the other as an enemy. So I would argue that being overly concerned with how we define ourselves, with how we fracture ourselves up from the rest, is actually a real cause of anxiety. And this is speaking from personal experience. This is me just having lived my life and drawing parallels where I see them. But it is so easy to become consumed by the us and them thinking that comes with more individualistic thinking, which I do think is exacerbated by consumerism, as well as just being from a Western individualistic culture. But us and them thinking, it stops us from being able to feel safe because it makes us alone. It's like we make the rest of humanity our judgmental God that we strive to serve and that we do not want to make dislike us. But in truth, we are all God, if we're just gonna get vaguely spiritual for a moment. And the worst thing is that this is all absolute gold for marketing agencies who just want to sell us their crap. If we believe that we are separate, if we believe that we need to define ourselves by what we buy and what we wear and those kinds of choices, then we are perfect victims. And also, this is not to diminish the importance of self-expression, because I think that is a truly magic and beautiful thing. But self-expression needs to serve us. It shouldn't be that we serve self-expression by giving it time, energy, and money that we don't have. I know for me, when I was growing up, self-expression became like, I was going to use the word crutch, but crutch doesn't feel quite right. Self-expression for me, when I was growing up, especially during my teenage years, became like a life ring. Like it was a way to stay buoyant, but also a way to kind of be seen so that I could be rescued. Kind of getting a bit, running away a little bit with this analogy, but it felt like if I could only express myself in the right way, if I could find the right combination of things, then everything would just fall into place. It felt like I wasn't doing it properly, and that's why things weren't perfect, when actually it's just fun. It's meant to be fun. Life's meant to be fun. I wish I could just like tell myself that all the time. I think there is definitely some truth that X means Y about a person. You know, if you are a lawyer, you are probably good at law. For example, if you buy red shoes, you probably like the color red. I'm not saying that there's no basis to make parallels, but I am saying that if that is what you are seeking, if you are seeking to define yourself and you want to kind of make a patchwork of clues as to what you are so that an observer can see that, then perhaps your energy isn't going in the right place. And I say this as someone who's done that, who did that for most of their life. So that's the warning. You are so much more than the purchases you make, and you are so much more than what you like, or what you do. The complexity to what makes you you and what makes you wonderful can never be defined in anything material and anything physical, because there is something to you that is, it transcends it all. Anyway, long story short, I bought a green one, like a dark green. I thought it was going to be a lighter green, but it's a dark green. And it does the job. Anyway, to conclude, you are so much more than your purchases. You are amazing. Well done. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.